Hi there, smart drivers. Talking to you today about highways, driving on highways, being safe. 2 techniques that you can put in place that will make you a significantly safer, smarter driver when on highways and driving at a higher rate of speed than obviously what you do in the city. That's what we're going to talk about. Corey is here. Corey is the moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at, as well keeps out the bad people. Elevator Fan is here. A few other people here as well. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from, what class of license you are going for. If this is your first license or you're looking to get a bus license or a truck driver's license, ask me any questions. I can field all the questions about passing your driver's test and being successful, as well defensive driving, be a safer, smarter driver on the roadways. We're getting started a little bit early here. Corey's got to take off at 6:30 his time. So any questions getting going, driving on the highways that we're talking about today. The first thing that I would suggest to you for driving on highways is learn how to use cruise control. I know that I have talked about this subject in the past, and the feedback that I get from many smart drivers is that they don't feel comfortable on cruise control, and that's simply because there's a transition from learning how to drive with your feet, right foot on the brake and accelerator, to using your hands and your fingers to push the buttons on the cruise control. And some of the cruise controls, depending on the make and model of your vehicle, are a little bit different, especially on the newer ones. And I rented a Hyundai there before Christmas, and I actually had to get out the owner's manual and figure out how to work the cruise control on it, because I was trying to figure out that I can't remember exactly what it was, but it went up 10 kilometers an hour and down 10 kilometers an hour on the resume button on the cruise control. So it was a little bit different than what I was used to on cruise control. So learn how to use cruise control. It keeps you at a constant speed, and as well, it reduces distraction, and it also reduces the risk of you getting a traffic ticket. So just practice a little bit. Go out on the highway when the highway's not busy, and practice using cruise control, going around curves and corners and those types of things, because the goal is to try and keep your vehicle at a constant speed. And as I said, this is going to reduce distractions, and you can have your full attention on the task of driving. Tanvir, hello, my friend. TD 831, you said terrified of driving on highways in New York City, and yes, I can understand that, because there in New York City, you're going to be driving on parkways, and parkways are quite a bit smaller, narrower. The on-ramps are shorter, and there are some videos here. Corey will put those up for you on merging on short on-ramps on parkways. I was in New York a few years ago. I need to get back down there and shoot some more videos with Sam about driving on parkways, and it will show you how to get on the highway with short on-ramps and off-ramps. And today we're talking about 2-lane highways. We're not talking about interstates and freeways. I know that the word highway is interchangeable with interstates and freeways and motorways and those types of things, but we're mostly talking about rural highways, 2-lane highways. So these in the United States would be state roads and whatnot. We're leaving out freeways and interstates and motorways for another discussion. So we're talking mostly about roadways today. Elevator Fan, my parents are telling me that I don't have to shoulder check when I am out in the country. Elevator Fan, they're giving you misinformation, my friend. You do need to shoulder check when you're in the country, because there are cyclists and tractors and people on electric scooters and those types of things. And here is what I'm going to tell you. It's the same thing. My house is on an alleyway. There's a gravel alleyway that runs between the 2 rows of houses here in the suburb where I live. 98 times out of 100 times, I back out of my driveway into the alleyway, and there's nobody in the alleyway. 2% of the time, there's somebody in the alleyway. It's the same thing when you're shoulder checking in highways, intersections, and anywhere that you are. It's only going to be about 2% of the time that there's actually going to be somebody there. So many people think that because it's such a small percentage of the time that somebody is actually in your blind area when you're driving, that it negates the necessity for you to shoulder check, which is completely false. You need to check for that 2 times that there is somebody there, so that we can prevent being in a crash. And I come back to this again and again and again. Most people in their driving career, 20, 30 years, will crash 2 or 3 times. Therefore, you can go along for a very long period of time, 8, 10, 12 years, and think that what you're doing is good and it is right and it is preventing you from having a crash, when nothing could be farther from the truth. We get a driver's license, and unfortunately in many places it's hit it and quit it. Okay, you're not required to take any more tests. You're not required to take any professional training, and everybody participates in the arena of social driving. And they have one experience, and they think that that one experience informs their decisions about driving. And in many cases, it doesn't make them safe. Instagram. I put up a video the other day about turning on a yellow light, and the light turned red when I was in the intersection, and people are like, you can't go in the intersection when the light is red. You can't make a left-hand turn on a red light. That's not true. You have to clear the intersection if the light turns yellow or the light turns red and you're in the intersection. You have to complete the turn. You have to get out of the intersection. So that's what I'm saying to you. Epic, watching from Flemington, New Jersey. And speaking of highways, pay attention to the white signs, since they keep right or no trucks, buses, trailers in the left lane. Also the speed limits by states. Yes, the regulatory signs. And as well on multi-lane highways. We'll just back up here a little bit. I was talking about earlier that we're talking about highways, we're talking about state roads, we're talking about rural highways, 2-lane highways. We're not talking about motorways and interstates and freeways. Those are a different animal in terms of driving. What defines a highway is that it has intersections, okay? It will have conventional intersections. In some cases, however, highways as well will also have on-ramps and off-ramps, which is confusing because then you start to think, oh, it's a freeway, but it's not a freeway. It still has conventional intersections every now and again. Highway 17 through New York State, for example, is a multi-lane highway. It has many, many on-ramps, off-ramps, but you get into the cities and it still has conventional intersections. So that makes it an highway. What Epic is saying is white signs, black backgrounds, black lettering, stay to the right unless passing. Okay, every state has one of those signs. Stay right unless passing. Same thing with regulatory signs, speed signs, and this applies to the city. If you're not passing, drive in the right lane so other traffic can get around, and it improves and increases traffic flow. This is what we're trying to do on our roadways. We're trying to balance traffic safety with traffic flow. How many cars per hour can we get down a section of roadway? That's what we're trying to do. Elevator, Angie, left lane is considered the passing lane. Is there a maximum speed for the left lane and a time limit for staying in the left lane? I ask because some people call it a travel lane or passing lane. Angie, it's a passing lane. Okay, treat it as a passing lane. Unfortunately, in North America, people and drivers believe that they can sit in that lane and camp out there. And it's not true. And I wish that we would adopt the culture from Europe, whereas if you're in the passing lane, you're passing. You're in that right lane, or in the left lane rather. If you're in the left lane, you're passing. Get out there, get past, get back into the right lane, and try not to hold up other traffic behind you. All right? Angie, hello from Florida. Hello, my friend, Elevator fan. My family and I are going out west to Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon to see my brothers. Elevator, that's going to be an awesome drive from Indiana there, my friend. Indeed. All right. So, yeah, we're talking about driving on highways. You're got some trepidation, some anxiety about driving on highway. We'll give you some tips and strategies. How to reduce anxiety, how to reduce your fear of driving on the highways. First and foremost, okay, 3 to 4 second following distance, and you need to, the car in front of you that you're following passes a fixed object. As soon as they pass that fixed object, you start counting. 1 watermelon, 2 watermelons, 3 watermelons. When you go past that fixed object, you should be at 3 or 4 watermelons by the time you go past. And the reason that we measure following distance in time as opposed to space is because it's relative. In the city, For example, you're at 100 feet following distance if you're following at 3 or 4 seconds. Once you get out on the highway, that following distance now opens up to 200 feet if you're following at a 3 to 4 second distance, because your speed increases. As your speed increases, the time, the distance also increases between your vehicle and the vehicles in front of you. And look farther down the road, as far as you can look down the road to interpret traffic patterns and understand the actions of individual road users. So you're on the highway in the summertime, and this is what's going to happen with Elevator Fan when he's traveling out west from the Midwest in Indiana there. There's going to be heaps of construction along the highways, and you're going to need to be looking down the road. The other piece about this, and I was thinking about this today because we came into construction. I was driving out on the highway, driving northbound on Highway 97, and there's construction there. They're repaving the highway. It's super nice now that they have it repaved. And there was a bottleneck. They had merged the traffic from 2 lanes into 1 lane. Very nice. I was so happy to see that as soon as the merge sign came up, everybody started moving over into the other lane. There was none of this garbage zipper merging. That is the dumbest concept on the part of politicians I have ever understood. And if people believe that zipper merging is the panacea that is going to reduce congestion and improve traffic flow through construction zones, it's simply false. And the other thing, that you're endangering people because now you have no space around your vehicle. So do not zipper merge. As soon as the sign says to move over into their lane, merge over into their lane, reclaim that space in front, and always have that space in front of your vehicle to keep yourself safe on the roadways. And you talk to any truck driver and anybody who drives a larger vehicle, they are going to tell you not to zipper merge. And in my mind, the only thing that I have seen that has come out of zipper merging is controversy on social media and road rage incidences, because people are like, oh, you should know how to do this. The unfortunate part about zipper merging is everybody has to do it or nobody has to do it. And in my mind, nobody knows how to do it. Nobody even knows really what it is. The number of social media posts I've seen where people are saying, oh, they're zipper merging, they're zipper merging. I'm like, they're not zipper merging. One person's just letting the other person over. That's not zipper merging. So don't do it. Okay, Corey's put up the video for 5 defensive driving strategies to be a safer, smarter driver. Thank you for that, Corey. How to use your vehicle's cruise control as well. Yes, and I need to redo some of these videos to get them up on the channel here, but thank you for putting those up. Short on-ramps, Corey's put that up as well. So if you have questions about driving on the highway using cruise control, zipper merges, let's whine and moan about zipper merges, because I think they're the most ill-conceived concept anywhere in the world. And it just, why would you trust anybody else that much to ensure your safety on the roadways? And it's interesting, that video that Corey put up there at the bottom of the comments, 5 defensive driving strategies to be a safer, smarter driver. Somebody left a comment the other day, and I need to respond to them and ask them why they think that you maintaining space in front holds up people behind you. That was the accusation that they made, that I was inconsiderate to other people because I was keeping space in front of my vehicle, and it was inconsiderate to people who were behind me, which I just cannot conceptualize. I cannot get my head around that approach to defensive driving. So that's what happened the other day. I'm going to need to get some clarification about that. Klaus, my friend, how are you? Tuning in from the UK, I believe. Is that right? Nope, Germany. There we go. You haven't been in for a couple of days. 831, they call it the fast lane in New York City. Yes, they call it the fast lane. In trucking, when there's 3 lanes on a highway, they call it the slow lane, or the bumper lane, they call it the through lane, and then it's the big dollar lane, because in a big truck or a bus, you're not supposed to be out in that 3rd lane. And then, of course, on some highways, some multi-lane roadways and whatnot, they will have an HOV lane, high occupancy vehicle lane, which many places you have to have 2 or more occupants in the vehicle, and it's reserved for transit buses and other vehicles, taxis and whatnot, that have more than 2 vehicles in the vehicle. Sunny Vancouver, Marion, no worries, Marion. We got started a little bit earlier here, so you're not late at all. And Marion had a success today. She parked in a very tight spot in a concrete parking garage, and got her Honda HR-V into the spot, and it was straight and in the middle of the parking spot space, and looked really great. So congratulations, Marion, on that win. And if you have any wins passing your driver's test, parallel parking successfully 3 times, driving down the highway, getting out on the highway and driving at high speeds and being comfortable driving the car, share your wins with us. We want to hear about your wins so that we can cheer you on, applaud your success and your determination becoming a safer, smarter driver and getting ready for your driver's license. I love to hear that stuff. I love getting up in the morning and looking at the comments, and people come back and they say, I passed my driver's test yesterday and it was your videos and information was helpful. So yes, definitely. Really, really love that kind of stuff. It just fills my bucket, so to speak. Fills my bucket. You are most welcome, Marion. So we're talking about driving on highways. So space in front, 3 to 4 second following distance, looking as far down the roadway as you can. We're also going to give you some tips and strategies about what happens if traffic comes to a stop on the highway, how to protect yourself and prevent being rear-ended on the highway. What happens in the summertime if you get stopped, because as I said, we're coming into construction season. Looking for out-of-state plates, campers, boat trailers, those types of things. Anything that is out of the ordinary, anything that could be unpredictable on the roadways. Look for vehicles parked along the highways, interstates, freeways. If you're on a multi-lane road, I cannot stress this enough. If there is a vehicle pulled over on the side of the road and you can get over into the left-hand lane, get over into the left-hand lane. Create as much space between you and that vehicle on the side of the road as you can to keep yourself safe. In addition to that, every state, every province has move-over laws, all right? If you're on a multi-lane roadway, there's an emergency vehicle on the side of the road, a service vehicle, wrecker, tow truck, ambulance, whatever it is, move over. And if you can't move over, slow down to 40 miles an hour, slow down to 60 kilometers an hour to go past those vehicles on the side of the road. The people that are working there and trying to keep us safe and keep our roads cleared, increasing traffic flow, are internally grateful for you doing that, because if you've ever been broken down on the side of the highway, the side of the freeway, it is a very, very dangerous place to be. And, standing there with the vehicles whipping by, it's just something else. Angie, is it true when switching lanes you cannot brake at all? What if the space is between the 2 cars and merging in requires me to brake to prevent hitting the vehicle in front of me? Angie, if you're that close and you've got to hit the brakes to prevent hitting the car in front, you're too close to the car in front. I can tell you that right now. You need to manage space better and defensive merging. Okay, I'll just reiterate this about defensive merging. Mirror signal shoulder check, okay? So say, for example, and I think that the example that you're talking about, Angie, is you're on a highway and the traffic is backed up. Nobody's letting you in, all right? So mirror signal shoulder check. There's no space there. Turn your signal on, okay? Your signal. Flashy, 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 flashy. Move your vehicle left of center, okay? Not out of your lane, but left of center. So you're hugging that left side. I will tell you right now that if there is a line of traffic beside you and you're trying to move left, and you have your signal on, flash, 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 and you are moving left, not out of your lane, but you're moving left of center in your lane, somebody will eventually let you in. Somebody will create the space, because with your vehicle moving slightly left and your signal on, they will create a space for you, because they're thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to risk that person coming over and hitting my car. They will create a space for you eventually. It may not be the first car, the second car, the third car, but it might be the 4th, 5th, or 6th car that will create a space for you and let you in, right? This is the other reason that zipper merges don't work, because drivers are nice, but I'm not let more than 1 car in nice, okay? And I am guilty of this. I will let 1 car in, but I'm not letting 4 cars in. And this is, again, why zipper merging doesn't work, because if you got a tractor trailer there, is the tractor trailer going to let 4 cars in that are beside them at the bottleneck? No, a tractor trailer is not going to let 4 cars in at the bottleneck in the idea of zipper merging. So, defensive merging. Signal, left of center, mirror signal shoulder check. nice and slow, just keeping pace with the traffic in that lane beside you, and then eventually somebody will open a space and you move into that space. If you've got a brake to prevent rear-ending the vehicle in front of you, Angie, you're too close to the vehicle in front, and you've got to manage space better, because if you're too close to that vehicle in front, you're at a high risk of being rear-ended by the vehicles behind you when you hit the brakes in an emergency situation to control that space in front. Corey, before the merge, keep at least a healthy 3-second distance from the car in front of you. Yes, 3 seconds at least. I cannot stress that enough, okay? Marion, my motto has always been, if everyone lets one car in at a time, we will all go. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Klaus, good evening from Southeast Bavaria, Germany. How are you doing? I'm still watching your videos like driving in spring snow. Yes, I wasn't in the live stream for 3 months. That's great, Klaus. Always a pleasure to have you back, my friend, and being part of the Smart Driver community. Excellent. Angie, when merging on a highway with a yield sign, is that legal to treat it like a stop sign unless safe to merge? Angie, there's no clear answer about the yield signs on on-ramps. My thinking about yield signs on merge lanes is that it reminds drivers who are merging onto the highway that the onus of responsibility for merging safely is on the merging driver. It's not on the traffic on the highway. However, I do implore everyone who's driving that driving is a social activity. We all have to get along. We all have to follow laws and rules and policy and culture of driving. And if you are on the highway and you can let off the throttle a little bit, you can let off the accelerator so your vehicle slows down 2 or 3 kilometers an hour or 2 or 3 miles an hour, and the vehicle that's on the on-ramp and the acceleration lane is doing his or her job, and they got their foot into it and they're accelerating, oftentimes you just letting off the throttle a little bit, 2 or 3 miles an hour, is going to let that other person merge out in front of you. Also, if it's a multi-lane road and you can move over to the left lane, move over to the left lane. Again, it creates that space that is going to keep you safe. I know there are people, drivers, who say, and they have said this to me over the years trying to garner my support, and I will not give them support, who say, I'm on the highway, I don't have to move over. That's not the way driving works. Sometimes you just have to give it up a little bit to keep everybody on the roadway safe. And that just means sometimes slowing down a little bit so the person can merge in front of you, or moving over to the left-hand lane. As I said, driving is a social activity. It's called social driving. We need to get along. And sometimes you just need to go along to get along. And it's just a matter of letting off the throttle a little bit to let somebody else out on the roadway. Elevator, fines are double if you get a ticket in construction zone. Yes, they are. And we had a big conversation about this a couple of weeks back about construction zones in the summertime and being in construction zones. And if workers are present in the construction zone, fines are doubled. So know that when you're driving on the roadways, okay? Pay attention to construction zones. Pay attention to the signs. Fines are doubled if workers are present. And in some places, it's not when workers are present. It's 24/7 that fines are doubled in the construction zones. I think Corey was telling me that in Manitoba, it's 24/7 for construction zones as fines are doubled. Jimmy, sometimes you have to play team as a driver. Yes, you do. Exactly what he says. It's a social activity. We're all on the same team. We're all trying to get along here. So helping other people out is going to increase and improve not only safety, but also traffic flow for sure. Okay, so we're talking about highways. We're talking about safety, managing space in front, 3 to 4 second following distance, looking as far down the road as you can when you're driving, mapping out what's going on with traffic patterns, if there's construction ahead, if there's conventional intersections, because we're not talking about freeways. Freeways are limited access highways where there's only certain places that you can get on them. On a highway, they have conventional intersections. They will also confuse you because they will have on-ramps and off-ramps and overpasses and things like that. We're talking about highways. The other piece, the other aspect of keeping yourself safe on highways, stay out of the clusters. For whatever reason, drivers like to drive in packs along the highway. And there is so much room in front and so much room behind. All you got to do is, if you come up to a cluster of vehicles on the highway, either get in front of them or get behind them, right? And sometimes it's just a matter of putting your cruise on. If you're a person that keeps up with traffic flow, which is generally 5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit in the States, it's 10 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit here in Canada. If you say say speed limit 60, you put your cruise control on 62, you're going to sit in that right-hand lane and you're going to be just fine when you're driving on the highways. All right. Corey, in Winnipeg, the city does a decent effort differentiating between a yield with the red white triangle and a reasonable merge with a yellow merge sign using two different signs. Excellent. Yeah. And what they're talking about, Corey, in terms of an actual yield sign, there are places in the States where they will actually have a real triangle, red, white triangle, inverted triangle that is a yield sign on the on-ramp onto the highway, and it can be confusing for some people. In other places, in Montreal, I have seen these, and I have seen these in Spokane, Washington, where they will actually have traffic lights that red, green, and they will, what's the word I'm looking for? They will stagger the vehicles that are merging out onto the interstate. So it's a red, yellow, or red, green traffic light, and you can't go on red. You have to wait for the green, and then you can proceed on the green to merge out onto the highway. Angie, my merge lane on my highway has a yield sign. The same lane is also an exit lane, so the cars are merging on while others are exiting off. The lane is as short as a block, so if I have to stop, I do. Okay, Angie, try not to stop when you're on these acceleration lanes. I know what you're talking about in terms of these clover leafs. Again, we had a conversation about these a couple of years ago. These are going the way of the dodo bird. As they do construction and upgrade roadways, they're getting rid of the clover leafs with these acceleration and deceleration lanes as being one and the same thing. They're beginning to get rid of these. So this is a good thing, I see, because exactly what you're talking about, Angie, that it's challenging because cars are coming off, cars are coming on, and essentially it's, if you're coming on to that clover leaf, it's difficult to see out onto the roadway because oftentimes it's uphill as you're coming out onto the interstate. So that can be challenging too. Essentially what happens is that the cars coming out generally have to give way to the cars coming on. So you have to be very aware of what's going on, and you have to manage your speed so that you can manage space. And sometimes, as you said, you're going to have to let off the throttle to let the car get off on the acceleration lane and slow down, and then you're going to have to come out and get going. So it's an advanced skill, absolutely, for sure. What is the difference between a yellow merge sign and a red yellow sign? Yellow merge sign is a cautionary sign that tells you there's a bottleneck approaching. Angie, they're not a red yellow sign. A yellow cautionary sign with black lettering and black symbols thereon is telling you that there is a merge ahead. Paul, my friend, I spoke to a city councilor of Mississauga about a bus driver on rough braking. Road examiners hate that. I was affected on board. All right. What feedback did you get from the counselors, Paul? Marion, we did have one of those traffic light merging on the highway here, but they have now taken it away. Yes. Okay. And Eric is here. Carrie is here from Minnesota. Hello, my friends. How are you? Awesome. Awesome. So lots of people here asking questions about becoming a safer, smarter driver driving on the highways. We'll get over to the presentation here. We'll get through that 10 or 12 minutes. We'll come back. We'll spend the remainder of the hour answering your questions, passing a driver's test, becoming a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. So we're talking about highways, driving on the highway, 2 to 3 second following distance, looking as far down the roadway as you can see, noticing anything different, out-of-state plates, camper trailers, boat trailers, those types of things. Large semi-trucks are going to go slower uphill, so know that, so you can get out and around them safely. Look for passing lanes down the roadway. If you get stuck behind a slow vehicle, stay out of the clusters on the highway to keep yourself safe when you're driving. All right, for those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauled freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States, and where Angie is from there in Florida. I did get down to Florida a few times, and they used to get all excited when I went to Florida in the big truck, which was, you know, all the way down Interstate 75 through Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and into Florida. And I would say, you know, just 1,000 miles of interstate I got to look at. And became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. Graduated from the University of Melbourne with my doctorate in legal history in 1997. Legal history is to study policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. Drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines in Australia while I was going to university there. And in 2016, I started the online YouTube channel, and I just got a notification that it was my 10-year anniversary on YouTube the other day, and I was like, time flies when you're having fun. And in that time, this whole online thing has been wildly more successful than I could have ever imagined. We're doing some reconceptualization of our social media approach. We're building a new website, and lots of great things going on. So we're very excited about all of that. Good things to have a look at. Both of these are down in the description. City driving tips, and as well blocking an intersection. If you enter an intersection you can't clear on a driver's test, that is an automatic fail. And we had a conversation about this in one of the other live streams about New York City, that they want you to move into the intersection to do a left-hand turn. But the irony of that is in New York City, they also have don't block the box to try and reduce gridlock and traffic congestion in New York City. So it's those two things are kind of at odds with each other, that they do want you to move into the intersection to make a left-hand turn, but at one and the same time they want to try and facilitate traffic flow by not having you block the box. So know that if you're in the intersection, the light turns red and you can't clear that intersection, that is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Faster speeds dictate that you need to have more following distance. You need to be looking farther down the road when you're driving. Look farther down the road, and are you touching the brake? As I was saying to Angie there, if you're touching the brake to prevent crashing into the car in front of you, you are following too close, and you need to manage that space in front of your vehicle better. So higher speeds dictate that you need more space in front, because you need space to work, right? You need space to shoulder check. You need space to look in your mirrors. You need space to look down the roadway and interpret the traffic patterns and the changing geography of the roadway, and to be able to read the traffic signs as you're going along the roadway. Highways have become safer because if you're running your GPS at the same time that you're driving along the highway, you can glance at your GPS. It will tell you what the signs are. And as well, you can see the changing landscape in the GPS, and you will be able to see whether the road goes to the right or whether the road goes to the left as you're driving along the highways. So you can use your GPS as well if you're driving on roadways that are unfamiliar. And for example, my friend Evan, who's driving from the Midwest out to see his brothers in Vancouver in Washington State there, you want to have the GPS running, and then that way you know which way the roadway is going. So your GPS in combination with cruise control is going to reduce distractions and give you more information about the roadway so that you can be more responsive, because you want to respond to changing traffic conditions. You don't want to be reactive. You don't want to get caught out at the last second. Stay out of the clusters. Drive in the spaces between the clusters of vehicles. For whatever reason, drivers drive in packs along the highways. They think it's NASCAR or Formula One for whatever reason, and they think that they're drafting behind other vehicles and saving fuel. And nothing could be farther from the truth. And in reality, it's compromising your safety. So drive in the spaces between other vehicles on the roadway. 3 to 5 second following distance is ideal for out on the highways. And again, we're not talking about freeways. We're not talking about motorways, which these are limited access highways. We are talking about rural 2-lane state roads. And these have conventional intersections. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. So you want to be locating intersections and identifying other traffic. If there are on-ramps and off-ramps, these are also intersections. So you want to be looking for those and locating traffic that's coming out onto the roadways and responding accordingly to that other traffic. Predicting road user behavior on and off-ramps. Where are these? What signposts along the roadway, off-ramps, on-ramps, overpasses, all these are going to indicate that there is an intersection there. And even though, because it has a slip lane and they're accelerating, it still means that there are going to be cars that potentially could cross your path of travel. So you have to respond accordingly, either by slowing down and letting them merge out onto the roadway, or turn and get in front of you. Or you need, if it's a multi-lane roadway, then you need to get out into the other lane and create space between your vehicle and the other vehicle on the roadway. Speeders, okay, there are going to be people that want to speed, people that are going to tailgate, right? If it's a multi-lane road, move back over to the right lane if you're on a multi-lane highway and somebody is tailgating you. Tailgating you is Simply they're communicating to you that you're driving too slow, you're in their way, and they want you to get out of their way so that they can go faster. So simply move over to the lane. If it's a 2-lane skinny and it's not multi-lane and there's a safe place for you to pull off the roadway and let them pass, then do that. Let them pass and get out and around you so that you don't get rear-ended, okay? Driving too slow. If you are driving slower than the posted speed limit, I can guarantee you on a highway that there are going to be 20 or 30 cars piled up behind you that all want to try and pass you. So, to be a safer driver on the roadway and be more predictable, I do encourage you to drive with the traffic flow. That will make you more predictable on the roadways. All right, shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. And contrary to what Epic's parents said to him, yes, you do have to shoulder check on the highway when you're changing lanes. Your mirrors do not cover your blind spots, okay? Blind spot detectors, yes, they're really great, but all this technology, proximity sensors, blind spot detectors, these are just a backup to good driving. And the reason that I advocate shoulder checking is because it advocates you to be moving your head and scanning. ABS, always be scanning. It's not just for brakes, it's also for scanning, okay? You want to have 360-degree awareness around your vehicle. And one of the little tricks that you can do when you're driving along, if you want to know whether you have situational awareness on the highway or not, is just say to yourself, okay, without looking in the mirror, say, what color is the car behind me? Is it red? Is it green? Is it blue? Is it an SUV? Is it a pickup truck? If you can answer that question without looking in your mirrors, you have decent situational awareness, and you want to have that situational awareness around your vehicle to keep yourself safe when you're driving on the highways. Shoulder check quickly, sharp 90-degree turn of the head, mirror adjustments, convex mirrors. Again, this is another aid to helping you on the highways and keeping yourself safe. Cruise control, use cruise control. Most cruise control switches on your vehicle will have an on-off switch, they'll have a cancel switch, and they'll have a resume, excuse me, and a set. And the set is you get it up to 100 kilometers an hour and you hit the set button and it will set it at 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour. And then the resume, if you go through town and you hit the brake, the cruise control will automatically cancel. Then you can hit resume and the vehicle will take off and it will go back up to 60 kilometers an hour. Now, the set and the resume will also slow down the car 1 mile per hour every time you click it, or you click up the resume and you click it, it will go up 1 mile per hour every time you click it. So again, as I said, look at the video here. I show you how to go through the cruise control, and then look at the video that Corey put up, and then go out and practice using your cruise control. And you can even use it on a road that doesn't have too much traffic on it and those types of things, and you can practice using your cruise control and getting comfortable with it. All right, roadside assistance. If you're driving on the highway and you're going for any length of time, as Epic is driving out to the west coast here, driving out to the west coast, get roadside assistance. If you're not comfortable, putting fuel in your car and those types of things, or you think that you might run out of fuel, or you have a flat tire and you don't know how to change a flat tire, AAA, the Automobile Association of America, the CAA, the Canadian Automobile Association, I think they have a reciprocal agreement back and forth between the two of them. They will give you a tow if your vehicle breaks down, or they will come out and put fuel in your car, they change the tire, those types of things. In addition to that, make sure that you have a cell phone cable in your vehicle. And lastly, the other thing that I would advocate you put in your vehicle is get yourself a cell phone holder. I held out for years on getting a holder for my cell phone, and I used to just put it on the seat or put it in the console beside me, especially if you're using it for GPS. Having a cell phone holder, you just put the phone in there, you can plug it in, and it's charged. And if you get into trouble or an emergency on the roadway, then you can use your phone, call for help. If your cell phone's not charged, it's pretty tough to call for help. So use that, and put the hood up on your vehicle if you're on the side of the road. That is the universal symbol to tell other traffic and road users that your vehicle is broken down. All right, merging correctly, continuity lines. Figure out what continuity lines are on the highway, the freeway, if there are merge lanes. And continuity lines are half as long, twice as wide as regular lines. And they tell you that the lane that you are in is either going to end or exit. And essentially what that means is that you were either in an acceleration lane getting out onto the highway, or you were in a deceleration lane, meaning you're getting off the highway and you're going to go out onto another highway or state road or into the city or those types of things. Continuity lines. If you see continuity lines, know that the lane that you are in is going to end or exit. All right, deceleration lanes, don't start slowing down out on the highway. Slow down, get completely into the deceleration lane, and then slow down, okay? And again, here in the image, I know it's not very big, but you can see the continuity lines. Twice as wide and half as long as other road markings. All right, good luck on your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Corey's put up some videos. Excellent. Thank you for that. Pass your driver's license test fast by mastering space management. That talks about how to do that, shoulder checking, and as well how to use your vehicle's cruise control. He's put that up again. So definitely have a look at that and then go out and practice on roadways, highways with low density traffic, or go out during a period of time in the day when there isn't a lot of traffic on the roadway. Klaus, the change that you getting a fine in a construction zone on Autobahn in Germany is almost 0%. I saw some car drivers in the left lane in construction zones. That lane isn't 2 meters wide. Okay, excellent. Yes, still looking forward to going out and driving on the Autobahn for sure. Eric, ABS, always be scanning. I like that acronym. Yes, I cannot take credit for that. One of the smart drivers left that on a comment a few weeks back, and I do appreciate that. And this is the reason that I advocate shoulder checking, because it just teaches you to move your head while you're driving. And the bigger the vehicle, you're towing a trailer, you're towing a boat, the more critical it becomes for shoulder checking. And I know that many people driving transit buses, coaches, highway coaches, charters, and tractor trailers will come back and say, I have mirrors on my vehicle, I don't have to shoulder check, which is bunkus. It's bunkus, okay? Especially in a semi-truck when you're trying to get around on a right-hand turn. You need to be moving your head because, as I say to truck drivers, it's the trailer that drives the truck, not the truck. The truck can go anywhere on the roadway so long as the trailer stays in its lane. And when you're going around on a right-hand turn, or you're making a left-hand turn, any turns in a big truck, it's 70% looking in the mirrors and it's 30% looking forward, and it's scanning, looking and making sure that the trailer is staying in its lane when you're going around the corner. Aber, DMV agent frowned at me for shoulder checking. Well, that DMV agent is not very well trained if they're frowning on you for shoulder checking. And unfortunately, this is controversial. And I've had people come back and tell me that they don't need to shoulder check. And I tell them bunkus. And I've had people tell me over the years that they rely solely on the observation technology in their vehicle, proximity sensors, blind spot detectors, backup cameras. They don't look around, they don't shoulder check, they don't have situational awareness, which worries me and makes me nervous when I'm driving. And I simply say to these people that I'm shoulder checking because I'm looking for you in my blind spot in and around my vehicle when I'm driving. I like driving, I love teaching driving. I think it is an awesome ability to have, but I don't trust drivers. I don't trust them 1 ounce because it is a social activity and you put people in a metal box that is comfortable with a stereo system and all kinds of gadgets and gadgets, and they do goofy things when they're driving and they make mistakes. It's the same thing as having Lego in your house. Okay, eventually you're going to step on it because it's simply there. And it's the same thing when you put people in motion. Eventually they're going to run into something, they're going to do something goofy, they're going to do something unpredictable. So for those of you who want to be safer, smarter drivers and significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash, shoulder check every time you change directions of the vehicle. Marion had an incident a while ago on the highway where there were a stream of vehicles merging onto the highway, so I moved to the left lane only to have a pickup truck swing out from the merge and tailgated me. Yep, it doesn't surprise me, Marion. It's a truck driver. It doesn't surprise me, Marion. It's a pickup truck. Pickup truck drivers, they've done studies on them to show that they are more aggressive. So yes, they will tailgate you. Fred, my friend, how are you? Shoulder check saved me a lot from close crash. Some cars just fly out of nowhere, or trucks. Yes, you're absolutely right. Beige, is driving with the flow of traffic the same as driving the posted speed limit? No. Beige, driving the flow of traffic, driving with the flow of traffic. In the United States, flow of traffic is generally 5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. Here in Canada, the flow of traffic is generally 10 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit, and it depends what highway you're on. For example, Highway 97 here between Vernon, British Columbia and Kelowna, British Columbia, where I live, it's posted 90 kilometers an hour. The traffic flow is 110 kilometers an hour. It's the same thing as if you go north from here to Kamloops. It's generally 110 kilometers an hour, especially when you get into the passing lanes where it is a multi-lane roadway. So know that. Thanks so much, Corey. All the very best. Have an awesome night, my friend. Marion, frighten the life out of me. Yes, and when people start passing you, start tailgating you, rather, when people start tailgating you, it's daunting, okay? And it puts you on edge, and you should be on edge because they are endangering both themselves and you are unfortunately the one that's going to get tailgated. So if you can put in place strategies and techniques that are going to reduce the chances of them actually tailgating you, you're going to be better off for sure. Excellent. Elevator, if you are talking about multi-day trips and staying at a hotel, make your reservations ahead of time. Yes, in the summertime, exactly what Elevator fan said. If you're traveling in the summertime, be sure that you book your hotels in advance of when you're traveling. Otherwise, you may not get a hotel. 4 years ago, when we drove from British Columbia, Canada, out to Ontario, Canada, 3,200 miles, a 4,000 kilometer trip, I booked the hotels a week before we came across, and it's pretty easy to do. You can drive about 500 miles a day. If you don't want to be too rushed, then 300 to 400 miles a day is a lot. 600, 700 kilometers a day. And we got into Calgary, and there was a person in front of me who was inquiring about rooms the night we got there, and they didn't have any rooms. And he had said that he had been to 12 other hotels looking for rooms. So know that, exactly what Elevator fan just said. Book your hotels ahead of time. And the other thing that I recently learned about booking hotels is now they are selling you high floors. This is an add-on feature that you can pay for when you're booking a hotel, and high floors are essentially means that you're not on the ground floor. So it's something else that you can pay for when you're booking your hotels and looking at your hotels. Now, if you're traveling with children and those types of things, and we can talk about long trips and other live streams, upcoming live streams and whatnot, you definitely want to try and find a hotel that has a pool or a hot tub or those types of things, so you can, the kids can go down for a swim and whatnot. When we went skiing in January at Mount Baker, we drove back into Bellingham, which is about a 45-minute drive from the ski hill. And the reason we did that is I wanted a hotel that had a hot tub. Go for a day of skiing and then go to a hotel that had a hot tub. That's what I wanted, so I was willing to drive back in for that. Elevator fan, is it illegal to brake check a tailgater? Elevator fan, I don't know whether it's illegal, but it's incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous to brake check a tailgater. And what brake checking means is that if there's somebody who is tailgating you and you hit the brakes and light the brake lights on the back of your vehicle, and the back of your vehicle brakes and slows down, and they have to do an emergency braking, you are risking being rear-ended. Not only are you risking being rear-ended, you're also risking being involved in a road rage incident. So please don't do that, okay? If somebody else upsets you on the roadway, and it happens, we get upset by other drivers, other road users, please just take a deep breath and carry on with your driving. Let them go and have their crash somewhere else, okay? That's what you want to do. You want to let them go and have their crash somewhere else. Tailgaters, unfortunately, are part and parcel of our driving environment, and you have to deal with these people. And the more predictable that you can be on the roadways, the less likely you are, the less chance you have of being involved in a crash. So try and be as predictable as possible when you're driving. We're talking about driving on highways, keeping yourself safe, having your minimum 3 to 4 second following distance, staying out of the clusters on the roadway. looking as far down the roadway as you can using cruise control. Learn how to use your cruise control. It will reduce distractions when you're driving on the highway. It'll improve fuel economy, and as well, it'll also reduce your chances of receiving a speeding ticket, because you know that your cruise control is at one set speed and that you're not driving excessively above the posted speed limit. The difference, as we talked about, between highways and freeways are limited access highways. There's only certain places that you can get on. The tricky part, or the unpredictable part about some highways, is that there are conventional intersections on these highways. For example, the highway here, Highway 97, and many state roads, you'll go along, there'll be overpasses, there will be acceleration lanes, deceleration lanes, just like a freeway, and then every now and again there will be a conventional intersection. So when you're driving on highways at high speeds, you're looking far down the road and looking for those conventional intersections, identifying the intersection and locating other road users, other traffic at that intersection that you could potentially intersect with, because more than 40% of crashes happen at intersections. So locate, identify, map, and track the road users at those intersections to keep yourself safe. Epic, my friend, when you were driving on the highway, are the big green signs overhead or ground mounted important to a driver or not? Some cases they might not interpret those correctly. Other types, divided highways. Yes, the big green signs, the destination signs that will tell you the exits, okay, are important for you. And this is another piece about it. If you're driving on highways for long periods of time, most of the state roads, most of the rural highways will have mile markers, okay? Use mile markers in your route planning so that you know that you are getting off at exit 374, okay? And instead of getting off at Smythe exit and you're looking for Smythe exit and you don't know how far it is down the road, try and get the mile marker. That's going to keep you safer. As well, destination signs. If you are looking at the destination signs and it says, okay, we're going to Cloverleaf, which is 50 miles up the road, we know that, maybe we took a break 3 hours ago and we're like, we still got another hour to drive. Maybe we should take a break instead of driving the other 50 miles. These are destination signs and will tell you how far it is to the next place. So these are located overhead of the roadways, usually on multi-lane roadways, and they're easier to see and easier to read, and they will have mile markers as well. And the mile markers are an exceptionally good defensive driving tool as you're moving along the highways and state roads and those types of things. And I do know for a fact that all the state roads in the United States have mile markers on them. So these will help you out to be a more aware and defensive driving by using these mile markers as a tool to figure out where your exits are and how far away your destination is. Fred, especially at nighttime with cruise control, helps out a lot on the highway. Yes, it does. And the other piece about that with Fred, about what he was just talking about driving at night, and we can definitely do another live stream about driving at night. It's not so much in the summertime here. I don't know when it gets dark where you live in the Midwest and other places in North America and in Europe and the world. But here in the West, it's a little bit unusual here because it will get light in the morning in the summertime here, it's light by 4 o'clock in the morning and it doesn't get dark again until 10:30, quarter to 11. So we have a very short night here in the mountains where I live in the interior of British Columbia. But in other places, it gets dark earlier and you will be driving at nighttime. And the road signs, as Fred was saying, the road signs will help you to identify which direction the roadway is going, whether it's curving to the right, whether it's curving to the left. And these signs, these destination signs as well, will locate and help you to identify on-ramps and off-ramps as you're driving along the highway. In addition to that, it will help you to locate and identify conventional intersections along the roadway, because you want to find these intersections, you want to locate them, you want to have situational awareness about the fact I am moving through an intersection. Where are the other people that could potentially cross my path of travel? This will help you to significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash. So essentially, situational awareness is trying to gather as much information about the space and place where you are on the roadway at that time. And we're not just talking about the roadway, we're not just talking about intersections, we're talking about other vehicles, other traffic that's in and around the locale where you are on the roadway. So the more information you can gather and glean, the easier it's going to be to respond accordingly and be predictable when you're driving. Klaus, if your car isn't wider than 2 meters, you shouldn't be driving in the left lane in a construction zone because you often have a concrete barrier on your left. Klaus, I don't know too many cars that are wider than 2 meters. Actually, I don't think... Oh, wider than 2 meters. Okay, so we're talking 6.5 feet. Yes, there are a lot of cars that are wider than 2 meters. I know that for a fact. Pickup trucks, for example, are wider than 2 meters. Fred, okay, we already answered that one. Scott, my friend, I'm in Connecticut and my driver's license is being expired over 2 years, so now I have to retake my driver's test. Reverse parking, do I have to put my right on the passenger's headrest while looking back? Scott, you don't have to, but it definitely makes it easier because when you're reversing, you have to be looking out through the back window. You can use a backup camera, you can use your mirrors, but for the most part, you need to be looking out through the back window. And the other video I'll put down in the description for you is reversing correctly. So putting your hand on the back of the passenger seat just makes it easier for you to get your hips around so that you can look out through the back window when you're reversing. But as I said, if you do have a backup camera, you can check your mirrors, you can check your backup camera when you're backing around. So it is a technique that I would suggest that you use. You don't have to, but it just makes it easier when you're reversing for the purposes of your driver's test. Marion says, to pickup trucks. Yeah, pickup trucks. Yes, and it was interesting. We were driving back on the highway here last week in the interior British Columbia, and I just saw this line of cars coming out of Armstrong, and I counted, and it was like a dozen pickup trucks in a row. They certainly like their pickup trucks here in the interior British Columbia, and it's the same thing you know, in Australia. They love their SUVs, their 4x4s. I was saying this to somebody the other day that Australia per capita has more four-wheel drives than any other country in the world. And I was in Australia almost 5 years before I figured out actually why they had SUVs and four-wheel drives. The reason they have four-wheel drives is in many places in Australia, they drive on the beach. And in order, you know, you drive on the wet sand, it's fine. You could, I mean, any vehicle will drive on the wet sand, but in order to get out to the wet sand, you have to be able to drive through the dry sand, and you need a four-wheel drive in order to be able to drive through that dry sand to get out onto the wet beach. So it took me a while before I got up north in Australia, but then I finally realized why they have so many 4x4s there in the country. Scott, yes, I need help with reversing correctly. Thank you so much. Okay, so Scott, as soon as I get done the live stream here, I will stick that down in the description for you there, and you can have a look at that video on how to reverse correctly. And the other piece about it, Scott, don't leave it until 2 or 3 days before your driver's test and go out and learn how to parallel park and back into a parking space, because it's just too hard at that juncture. Try and get practice with it now. And the other piece about that is that doing the reversing, backing into a parking spot, doing your parallel parking, this will improve all your driving, not just your parallel parking and your slow speed maneuvers. It will translate into you being a better driver overall. So don't put it off until 2 or 3 days before your driver's test. Start working on it now, and that will help you out to become a safer, smarter driver, and definitely help you to pass your driver's test first time. So backing up and those types of things. Highway driving, 2 to 3 second following distance, looking farther down the road, learn how to use cruise control, and stay out of the clusters of other vehicles on the roadway. Identify on-ramps, off-ramps, if it has those on the highways. Many of these highways do in this day and age. And as well, identify and map and track intersections along the highways. And the reason that you need your 3 to 4 second following distance is so that you have time to work. You have time to observe and figure out what other traffic is doing on the highway, and you can respond accordingly. All right, if traffic does come to a standstill on the highways, okay, stay back from the stop traffic in front and roll up really slowly. Put your four-way flashes on and make sure that you're looking in the center mirror and watching the traffic come up behind you. If you see the vehicles behind you are not coming to a stop, put your four-way flashers on. The flashing lights will get the attention of the vehicle behind you. Otherwise, just start pushing down on the brake pedal and flashing the brake lights on behind you, and that will stop the traffic behind you. Again, know that in the summertime, you're going to be into construction, you're going to be into backups and those types of things. So highway driving. Elevator fan, I will be traveling 2.5 hours to Terre Haute, Southeast Indiana for Indiana State Special Olympics. Awesome. Have a great trip, my friend. Epic, my friend. On some highways, particularly rural roads, you might encounter signs that say weight limit in tons. How do you do this on a rental truck, considering they don't have GPS? Others have one including. Okay, so if you have a rental truck, Epic, unless you're hauling heavy, you probably are going to be okay. If you're just using a rental truck to move furniture, furniture's really light. The only time that you need to be concerned about your weight on a rental truck is if you're hauling liquid, paper, metal. Those things are heavy. And if you're doing that, then you're into a commercial license. So then you're going to know all of that information. So otherwise, you're going to be great. Scott, great, thanks. I know I've been practicing almost each night, did an hour tonight. I can back into a spot, no problem, just looking in my left and right mirrors, but I need to look out the back window. Yes, indeed. Okay, Scott, all the best. Thank you, everybody, for your great questions and great live stream. All the best. Have fun driving on the highways. You can do it, even if you have some anxiety and trepidation. Put these skills and techniques in place to be safe on the highways. All the best, and remember, pick the best answer. Not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.